Okay, before this movie, there's a huge disclaimer about what the movie is about, the cultural references, the religious aspect, and talking to different priests about if this is a cultural sensitive movie, which I could appreciate them having that, underground or just underlying message to the movie about the Shiva, but everything else did not work. Chase Lee Hockey here with the blue futon roofing Kannappa. What's about pretty simple premise. There's a guy who, when he was a kid, watched his friend get decapitated. And why is that? Because of a human sacrifice to the gods. And since he's seen that, he's like, no more. I don't trust any god, because why would they want human sacrifices? Just doesn't make sense. And why are we worshiping these rocks? And in the meantime, there could be a battle going on. There could be a war going on. There could be a religious thing going on. There could be a love interest going on. And there's a lot of aspects to this movie about the gods saying, like, you know what? When will this person come to realize I'm real? And how many reincarnations will there be? This is a lot of stuff in this movie, and a lot of it is a miss. I mean, complete miss in my opinion. And it could be that, you know what? Maybe you're white and you're from America and you don't understand the cultural references of a lot of the aspects. You could say that. However, that was the part where I was mostly intrigued about, is learning about this cultural reference, learning about Shiva, learning about all the other aspects to this movie about things I didn't know about. So that is what I enjoyed. But everything else, the battle sequences, the love interests, the score, the CGI, the battles, everything else, the story, the slowness, the whole just premise of the movie, trying to intertwine it all into one, did not work at all, in my opinion. So when looking at the positives of the film, like I said, if you want a decent look at something you probably never seen before, or you want to learn a little bit about, this movie can provide it with the cultural aspect to it. So I did enjoy that, like trying to learn different things. But when you actually think about this movie, that is such on the back burner when talking about the love interest, the different battles, the 5 tribes coming together, the arranged marriages, and just other things, like other things as well, of like just random people coming into play about this guy that wants to violate his wife. Just other things where you're just like, why are we forcing all this stuff into this movie when we have this interesting cultural reference? And the filmmakers apparently talked to priests, went to the shrine, and tried to understand the history of it. And you're thinking, why are you not giving me more of that information? Other positives, there are some good looking scenes, especially one on a lake. I thought, okay, that is pretty cool, because that is one scene where I'm like, okay, it looks like they're trying. It looks like they're going out in the open. And a lot of this movie is going out in the open, and it's not a lot of actors. It looks very low budget, in my opinion. Everything else than that, yeah, there's some decent acting, but the craft of this movie, nothing else worked for me. For example, the CGI. Some of it was atrocious. The animals did not look good. There's a scene where a eagle takes a baby and he saves the baby, and he's in CGI grass. Does not look good. Also, there's a scene where his army is coming to, battle and fight, and there's a huge rock in the middle of this field which they're quote unquote marching, and they're literally going over this huge rock, like gliding over it. The whole scene is abysmal. Very abysmal. Also, there's a scene where we're on the bridge and people are falling. Abysmal. There's a lot of CGI in this movie that does not work. Every animal scene does not look good. The snake, the pig, the elephant's probably the best looking one, but not good. In the battle sequences, even you have like battling with a little bit of it, but then you could tell in the background it's all just AI or just CGI characters, like Minecraft looking. It was bad. It was bad, 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 bad. Also, like the cloud scenes, and when he does something at the very end and he becomes bigger with the rock statue. It's just like, this does not look good whatsoever, and a lot of green screen. It's bad. It's pretty bad. All right, when looking into the fight sequences, they are slow. And what I mean by it is like they're like the swords are like oof, oof, and the punches are like oof, boom. And why I do that pause is because you could totally tell that the punch on the face and they forced it. They like oh and act now force it, and they did that for a lot of the battle sequences. And when they are battling and swords colliding, it looks like they are not even trying. It is not a lot of force going at each other. Like if you want force, like Kingdom of Heaven, Gladiator, you feel the action of like oh this one you're just like oh, they're cosplaying. And that's what it really felt like with a lot of these battle sequences. And to make matters worse, there's that quote unquote big battle, if you want to put it that way, where the tribesmen come together and they're in a circle. But instead of showing a lot of the battles, they do this fishbowl type of, lens that you only can focus on the little thing and everything else is like fuzzy. So you really don't get the full scope of the battle. And it's really disappointing when it came to that. Also, I talked about the bridge scene. There's a scene where he's literally focusing this way, and a guy is shooting arrows from this direction, and he gets shot right here. Like, there's just so many editing and just placement of things that it just doesn't match. It just felt lazy. And a lot of editing, too, with the battle sequences and things that's going on. You're like, why are we choosing this angle? And why does it look this way? Another thing, the love story. It overtook the story. I understand what you're trying to do, but it's like, take minutes out of this movie. It did not need to be an over 3-hour movie. It needed to be a lot shorter, and I felt like a lot of it. And dealing with the love interests, there's a score. It's like ha 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 ha, and every fucking time, sorry for the language, that they were together or about to kiss or had connection, that song kept playing over and over and over, and it started to get so damn annoying. It was just very frustrating. And then when dealing with the editing, there are so many random scenes in this movie, which, like, there's an intermission, right? And it's like, who is he? Like, that scene doesn't correlate with the movie whatsoever. Yes, I understand it's supposed to be a reincarnation scene. I understand it's supposed to be, like, a different life. But it didn't belong in this movie. It didn't belong in that whatsoever. And if they wanted to do it, it could have been a little bit better because all of a sudden we're like talking about this guy getting away from the village, like he is shunned. And all of a sudden we're going to the same guy with a different bow, but can shoot magical arrows. And you're like, what is going on? What is this transition? Why is this transitioning to this all of a sudden? It doesn't make sense at all. And my goodness. So like I said, the crafts, the CGI, the score, the battles, just the feel of it just felt so slow. And the fire effects when she was in a hut were bad. And it was so hard to believe this story when this is based off like old century texts and scrolls about Shiva and everything like that. And it's like, okay, I don't know what characters are real anymore because everything about this just feels ridiculous. And I know people are that atheist side, because there is a good like message about atheist versus non-atheism and what you believe and what can be true. Like I said, that was decent parts, and every time he's arguing with his dad or the tribesmen about the sacrifices and worshiping rocks, it does put a good perspective of what people should or shouldn't believe. And, this is a very different time where even the Mayas in South America would sacrifice kids left and right. And it makes you wonder, like, do gods really want you to kill a 5-year-old? And there's little things like that as well. And can that necklace survive that, that size? That's another freaking story. But yeah, in the last 20 minutes is a completely different movie as well about him worshiping the rock and having to sacrifice something. But then it doesn't make sense where these other people just came in and started whipping him. And you're just like, what are we trying to do with this story and, believability as well as sacrifice, and how it also ended? It was like a martyr storyline, which you're like, okay, I'm done. At a point, like, it is so much thrown at you of like story and what to believe, believability, and the action set pieces, which were, it's just, I don't know what the story or this movie was actually trying to tell the audience. I think that's what's also my struggle too, is What are you trying to tell me? Because what am I supposed to believe? Okay, I understand the Shiva character, the Shiva god, but everything in between, like, I, So overall, Kannappa, this did not work for me whatsoever. I mean, not for me whatsoever. And it could be because I'm a Westerner and I just don't understand the premise. Sure, but you say that, but at the same time, that's what I enjoyed about it the most, about getting to know who this God character is, getting to know these different, elements of this culture I've never heard of. But everything in between, the craft in the movie, how it's filmed, how it's shot, how it looks, the score, it just turned to a campy, convoluted mess. So Kannappa will receive a 1 out of 5 of Futons, which equals that 20%. Let's see what the critics and user scores gave this one. So you have nothing with the critics, nothing with the audience score, but there's one below it giving it a 5 out of 5, saying his career best and entries ultimately as expected. Like I said, this could straightly be because I'm a Western American that it just don't work for me. But this no. My 20%. Chase out here at the Blue Futon. Like, comment, subscribe. One of these Bhutontopia. You Bhuton and say watch them a great day. I don't care if you watch this today, tomorrow, week from now, month, and year from now. Every single freaking one of you. Peace and love. Peace and love. And don't hate me for my opinion. Please.